to you today about how Keysight can help you with your with achieving your zero trust network security goals. And let me start. Let me start with the with a brief introduction about Keysight. If you, for those of you who might have not heard about the name, so Keysight is a spin-off of Agilent Technologies, and which is itself a spin-off of Hewlett-Packard. So as you can see, we have a strong DNA in networking, network testing, and hardware. So, okay, so as Keysight was originally, I'm talking about the original Keysight. The original Keysight was focused on hardware device testing, especially RF, wireless, network device testing at layer 1. And together with the acquisition of Ixia and Anite and a couple of other technologies like Prisma, they are now covering the whole layer 1 to layer 7 layers of the OSI stack. So if before this Keysight was, let's say, doing testing at layer 1 and a little bit of the mobile devices, they are now able to not just test, but also cover the whole technology framework, and up to layers 4 and 7. So this is very important for zero trust because it's not just the layer 1 that needs to be tested for performance and security, but most of the modern attacks and modern breaches and malware happen at layer 7, where most of the activity is taking place. So I will not spend too much of your time about Keysight. I just want to tell you that Keysight is focused on the whole, let's say, range of enterprise customers as well as service provider customers. So healthcare, financial, retail, industrial, IoT, and OT, and government, and that's just to name a few. So it's also defense, aerospace, quantum computing. These are some of the newer ones that maybe they are not so well known. Also, automotive is there. So it's really a really broad range of customers and industries that Keysight is currently covering. So that's it for the introduction about Keysight part. Now I would like to just reiterate the idea of zero trust and explain. So just to introduce the Keysight solutions, I would like to re-talk about the zero trust from my understanding. And I will start with a short anecdote. So when Manish and Herschel invited me here to speak to this seminar, to this event, they told me, Bogdan, we want to do a speech about zero trust. Will you help us? And I said, okay, I don't know zero trust. I'm not working with zero trust. I just know security and visibility and testing. That's what I do. So let me just read about it and see what I can do. And the more I read about what actually the zero trust concept is, the more I realized that I was actually doing zero trust because security and visibility and testing is part of the zero trust framework. So yeah, that's how I said. I said then yes, okay, okay. I realized I'm doing zero trust right now. So if I were to quickly redefine zero trust, it's not a one solution. It's just a guideline or a set of guides of solutions how to implement security in the modern business. So because the original perimeter security is not effective anymore and the network perimeter is starting to be fuzzy and blending with other perimeters, then that traditional model has to be turned upside down, I would say. So the justification is when you have so many bring your own device, IoT, sensors, cloud workloads, everything is spread out. Your applications are in the cloud, not in your enterprise anymore. Your users are mobile. They are not fixed anymore. So in that case, you cannot talk about a network perimeter anymore. You have to talk about let's say a framework security, not about, you cannot just secure the perimeter. So the new perimeter looks a lot more ubiquitous, I would call it, than it used to before. So we have workers working from remote, especially with the COVID work from home. We have applications in the hybrid cloud, both on-prem and in the public clouds, Azure, and so on. We have people bringing in their personal devices into the network. We have the vendor chain and contractors chain. We have mobile devices, applications in the cloud and on-prem. So the old perimeter is expanded a lot. So obviously the old security framework is not going to be efficient anymore. The security teams need to be retrained. They will not have the same skills. If you work with a firewall, with a physical firewall all your life, you will have some challenges trying to secure the cloud, of course. The legacy networks can still be protected as a perimeter, but they are very vulnerable to attacks from the new network perimeter, like from the cloud. The original perimeter securities, they are not so good at handling the, for example, the IoT securities, as you are probably aware. So there are a lot of IoT attacks, and so on. The zero trust approach obviously starts from the idea of don't trust anything and anyone until you verify it at every step. So whenever somebody, doesn't matter if it's inside your premises, is trying to access your network resources, just don't trust it. Just let it authenticate, let it authorize first, and then after you give it permission, then re-verify it periodically. This is one side. So what I'm trying to say is that Keysight doesn't have a product for zero trust. It doesn't have a silver bullet for product trust, for zero trust. Zero trust is not a single product. It's a combination of products, and it's also a cultural mindset. The entire workforce, the entire teams, the entire teams of employees need to be trained to work in a zero trust environment. Some of you might already have noticed, whether you work for a big corporation or if you try to log in to some big corporation services like a bank service, you already noticed that there are more security checkpoints in place. Whereas before you used to access everything with a username and password, now you have multi-factor authentication. Sometimes you even have three-factor authentication. Whether you are an employee of a company, it's no longer enough to just log into your laptop, right? After you open your laptop and you log into your laptop, you have to also, every time you open an application, that application might ask you to re-authenticate, doing multi-factor authentication, even if you are on VPN or even if you are in the company premises. So this is also part of the zero trust framework. It doesn't, regardless of the fact that you are already in the premises of the company, you are already in the perimeter, it still doesn't trust you. It still asks you to prove who you are. So, sorry, the volume is too big, I think. So some time ago, Forrester tried to do another definition and another schematics of the zero trust framework, and this is what they came up with. So you have basically 5 components, which are network, data, people, and workload and devices. And you have, basically you have 2 methods. visibility and analytics on one side and automation and orchestration on the other side. So the network is taking care of the segmentation, isolation and controlling the network. The people are your employees, your users that you need to use to secure. The workloads are the applications that could be in the cloud or on-prem. The devices are the enterprise devices plus whatever the people bring in. Obviously, bring your own device. So all of this uses data. The data needs to be secured both in transit and in use and at rest. So the two major methods that Keysight is present in, is activating in, are visibility and analytics on one side and automation and orchestration on the other side. So this is a life cycle of the visibility testing and security of the network, and this is how XCI is planning to help with the zero trust deployments. So as I mentioned, zero trust for Keysight and Ixia is a full life cycle. We are trying to help the network deployments, the enterprises secure their network before they deploy the network and after they have deployed it. So there are components of the testing and validation of the network before deployment. There are also components of the testing and validation during deployment. So it's a continuous process. It's not something that is a one-time only, but it's a continually moving target. Security needs to be revalidated periodically. Ideally, you would do that every day because new threats emerge. Everybody knows about zero-day vulnerabilities. The quicker you identify those, the better. So it's not something you just put in place and fire and forget. You have to do it periodically. The same with visibility. Visibility is, by definition, something that happens all the time in your network. You have to be notified the minute something happens in the network, and you have to see that event. If you don't see events in your network, you are going to miss some of the attacks. Okay, so enough about the general presentation. I would like to move on to the actual Keysight solutions for zero trust. And I'll first talk about the visibility, which is my specialty. I personally work in visibility. And then I'll talk about part two, which is the validation. So on the visibility side, I don't know how many people are familiar with the visibility part and what it does to a network. So you have, of course, you know your production network and you know your security tools. This is something that everybody knows. But not a lot of people know that in the middle, between the production network and the security tools, there is another layer called the visibility layer, which is trying to solve a few challenges. First of all, you have internal traffic, east-to-west traffic that is happening inside your virtual machines, for example, that your security tools, if they are hardware security tools, they will not see. You have to take that traffic out of your virtual machines, out of your virtual workloads. Second of all, there are very high-speed links, and the tools, some of the tools, the older tools are struggling to keep up with the new high-speed links. So in order not to overwhelm your tools, you need something to make the link, to optimize that traffic, and to make your tools efficient even at very high-speed loads. Then there are extremely large numbers of links to monitor. Some security tools, some security frameworks that you are running now, some of those tools might not be able to monitor such an enormous number of links. So you have to somehow solve that problem and aggregate those links. So there are also other complexities, like how do you look into encrypted traffic? A lot of the attacks now are over encrypted traffic, and encryption, like HTTPS, TLS traffic, is anywhere between 80 to 90 to 95% of a regular network traffic, depending on the network. So if you're missing the decryption of all your traffic, then you might miss some attacks and malware that can infiltrate through that encrypted traffic. So as you can see, there are all kinds of challenges. Also, what do you do if your workloads are spread across physical and multi-cloud? What do you do if your workload is spread across VMware and Azure and AWS, and also your local data centers, and your local data centers are spread across the globe. But you only have as much as, let's say, 2 types or 3 types of security tools. How do you aggregate all those workloads into just a few security tools? You have 2 options. You either deploy security tools everywhere, like in all the clouds that you have, or you try to aggregate the clouds first and then deploy your security tools there at the aggregation point. So there's not a direct or simple answer, but you have to take into consideration all of these. And Keysight is proposing some solutions here. So if you're looking at a regular visibility architecture, it looks more or less like this, where you have your production network on the left side, and you have your security and detection and performance and whatever other types of tools there, monitoring tools, lawful intercept tools, everything. So your log management, your CMs are there. But in between, you have your visibility platform. This is the recommended architecture, because otherwise, every tool is going to see all of the data that is being collected from the network. Sometimes the tools might not be strong enough to handle it, or you are feeding unwanted data to all of your tools. For example, the DDoS tools might not be interested in receiving all of your east-west traffic because that is internal traffic. I'm just giving a very short example here. So how do you optimize which tool gets which traffic? Keysight is, of course, partnering with a huge tool vendor and partner and ecosystem, which includes cloud vendors and tool vendors and security vendors and so on. And they all take part in the zero trust architecture. This is just a list of examples, but you can see that they are from every testing and breach and attack validation simulations in your network to keep them running continuously. Okay, I think I'm reaching the end of the allocated time. So thank you very much for your attention. I will not, okay, I'll leave you with this. And thanks for your time.